Perez, and my name's Laura Leone, and um, I'll let Ishmael introduce himself since I probably can't cover you as well as you can.
I am the author of Our Cosmic Origin, revealing cosmic intel, galactic history, suppressed knowledge in preparation for the restoration of planet Earth. I consider myself an awakened starseed here to help gather the 144,000 and activate the starseed nations. I'm also an ambassador for a cosmic intergalactic treaty known as the Covenant of Palador, working for a celestial organization known as the Emerald Order. And I have been appointed by the High Council of the Super Universe of Orventon to come to the Earth, incarnate at this time, to help bring in the next level of disclosure in order to reconnect the Earth back into the galactic and cosmic community.
Wow, that's great. And I just want to say that I read your book, Our Cosmic Origin, and I really like how you tie together basically my whole watching of the show Ancient Aliens and other shows. So thank you for doing that. And I actually noticed you initially because I'm an Air Force veteran, and I heard you say on videos that um, you were a super soldier, so that really caught my ear. And I've been listening since then. So if you don't mind, I have some questions for you, and they're kind of all over the place.
Okay.
But so the first one that I have are about 4D, four-dimensional or density inner and outer Earth beings, such as gnomes, elves, fairies, elementals, unicorns, leprechauns. Are these things that are going to be a part of our regular life eventually, or that are mostly benevolent? How does that work?
Yes, they actually coexist in the fourth dimension, in the higher fourth dimension, and they're still existing around us, just in a different vibrational frequency reality. So as the veil lives, as we continue to purge the third dimension and move into the fourth and fifth dimensions, we are going to begin to interact with the elements, the unicorns and all the magical creatures that existed during the times of Atlantis. So that is a definitely yes. And some of us who are really in tune with their spirituality, who are doing the work, are actually already interacting with the elementals and unicorns and fairies, because the fairies, they're the guardians of the Tellura kingdom, which is the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom. And every time you are out in a natural scenario, like where there's tons of forest or anything that is associated with Mother Earth, the elementals are there. And if you are able to tune into their frequency, you could actually begin to interact with them. And they love us. They see us as the masters of the universe in a way, because we are the crown jewel of all creation. So they have highly respect for us.
That's great. Thank you. I actually have a video where there's what looks like I guess, a fairy or like a really small little light going flying right past me really fast on my security camera when I was taking out the garbage. So I thought that was really cool. But so I had to ask. So as to the solar flash, will we recall our 3D lives after the solar flash, or is that going to be something that's kind of like a distant memory that will have to be regressed to, absorb?
Oh, definitely. We're going to have our full memories of who we were and what we were as mortals when we transform into immortals. And not only are we going to be recalling our earthly experience here as mortals, but we're also going to have access to all our incarnations, all our lifetimes, and what we are in the higher dimensions. It's almost like right now we're in a state of limited consciousness where, we're only tuned in to this. I guess to the 1% of the full light energy spectrum, where 99% of our reality is apparently not perceived by us. But when the ascension takes place, we're going to all undergo what is known as multidimensional integration, where all these dimensional realities come into singularity. And when that happens, depending on your level of vibration, you're going to be able to access, different versions of yourselves that actually exist in these other dimensions or parallel Earths, which is awesome.
Great. Yeah, I can definitely feel the energy, like, basically merging us closer together towards a unity consciousness. So I'm glad that we're heading that way and excited that, we're here during this time. Um,
Yes, we all volunteered. We all knew what we were getting into. You know.
yeah, yeah, that's what I remind the people that are very close to me and complain about, the things that are happening out there. And I'm like, you agreed to this, you signed up for this, you wanted to come here and help. And if you're still in that body, you're here for a reason, your time is not done, your mission is not done here. So we need you. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so sometimes some days it's hard, especially when you're doing commutes or paying bills or that kind of thing. Or getting sick. um, so that actually gets us to the next question. Will we have access to things like med beds or free energy soon, like Dr. Stephen Greer discusses in his documentaries? Or is this after the solar flash, and are we going to be so, I guess, elated that we won't even need a med bed because we're going to have the energy to basically heal ourselves at that point?
Depending on which dimension you go into. So there's going to be three dimensions that we're going to be collectively entering: fourth, fifth, and sixth. And those that go into the fourth dimension, because they're not going to have access to their supernatural abilities, they will be using, advanced positive alien technology such as med beds, replicators, teleporters, hover cars, anti-gravity aircraft, free energy devices, and so on and so forth. But those that go into the fifth dimension and up are going to be pretty much able to heal themselves. They're going to be able to communicate telepathically. They're going to be able to teleport. They're going to, and some who go into the sixth dimension or seventh are going to be able to fly and do the, what we would consider like the impossible. So yeah, it's going to be a coexistence of like, gods, goddesses, hype, magicians, wizards, demigods, and mortals, as it was during the times of Atlantis. So we're going back into that multiple, reality type of, where there's going to be different types of beings coexisting all together.
Great. So it really sounds like there's, I guess, a multitude of layers and spectrums that, if you're 4D, you might have the medbed technology, but anything beyond that, you might have some self-healing properties and other abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, because as you know, I mean, at least from what I see, because I used to work in a hospital, not anymore. I work in legal now, but just the illnesses and the dis-ease, the big pharma rackets, the financial markets, the health problems in the financial markets. And I work in financial now, and I used to work in health. I just, it obliterated people's families, I don't want to say the word, but the last few years, what's been going on, and, I don't know, it goes without saying. And so those are two things that really interest me with that, the financial and the health background. So that's great. Um, so let's switch subjects over to military and cabal, being that I'm a veteran. So how is the underground military cabal hybrid program different than the ones that are from the sky?
Okay, so we have various programs competing, a total of 22 different programs, most of which are benevolent and then some are nefarious. So the nefarious programs are being conducted by the Naboo, the Ebens, and of course the Greys and Zetas from the Rambola system, and from Zeta Reticula 1 and Zeta Reticula 2. And then, of course, they also work with the Montes and the Insectoids from planet Vetra, from which it comes from another galaxy. And so their hybridization programs are being collaborated with members of the shadow government, those that are related to the cabal or at least associated with the cabal, and they're all about creating, beings that are not part of the original creation. They're trying to dilute. They're trying to tamper with our 12 strand DNA, with our dormant DNA by admixing us with like grays and admixing us with insectoids. And those hybridization programs are no longer taking place in our world. I believe that ever since Solar Warden and the Earth Alliance got rid of the Dark Fleet and the ICC, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, a lot of those programs were cleared out. But I do believe that some of these hybrid children that were mixed with, genetics from insectoids and grays were taken off world over to Orion. And some believe that at the end of the millennium, we're going to have to deal with those abominations. But the positive programs are about enhancing our genetics through slicing and splicing, through the augmentation and pretty much the upgrades of human genetics by mixing them with other, ETs that are human-like or ETs that are of a spiritual nature. And those programs are positive. Those programs have been implemented since the 1940s. And they've been doing really well. I think that we are now in our 11th prototype. So we've had
Wow.
10 different prototypes of super soldiers since the 1950s. Yeah, one after another, and each one gets stronger and stronger. So, all that stuff is real. When people watch Agents of Shield or Shield of Agents, whatever that series is called from Marvel
Yeah.
Comics, like, all that stuff is real.
Yeah, or like Starship Troopers, right? That's what I
Yeah.
thought of when I heard Super Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So now these bases that connect underground, such as Denver Airport to Dulce, New Mexico, and submarines under Santa Ana to Area 51, are they used for things other than the hybrid programs, such as clones?
Oh, they're used for multiple purposes. The main purpose is that's where the members associated with the cabal are have been sacrificing children, have been mutilating, uh, torturing, children for thousands of years. I guess in this case for centuries. But those tunnels have always been there. Those tunnels were actually created in ancient times by the negative Anunnaki, which were led by the forces of Marduk, who is the son of Enki. And so those tunnels have been in place for quite some time, and they have been used for nefarious reasons, mainly to extract adrenochrome in order to feed their alien overlords and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's those tunnels are currently being cleared up by members of the Alliance who are in a way super soldiers, and they have been ever since 2016. We are at like 97 or 99% progress as far as clearing out all the underground tunnels and saving the children. And that's what Trump was all about. Trump, from the beginning, he was an insider. As a member of the White Hats and the cabal, Trump knew that what was actually happening in the underground. And so him and Melania Trump have been very, very advocated and instrumental in the clearing out of the tunnels and saving all the different children that have been saving all the different children that have been pretty much exploited by the members of the deep state. The Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes, and all those traitors that went against the Republic. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I had a little
No,
interruption.
it's okay. Yeah. So speaking of that, that was leading to another one of my questions. Have you read the Ghislaine book by William Steele, or heard that he claims to have turned over evidence of abuse of, the SRA abuse you just said, um, by presidents going back to the 80s and specific spouses and family members of these? Do you know anything about that? The
About
William
what?
Steele book? It's a book by someone named William Steele who wrote about
Mm,
Epstein, and it's called Ghislaine.
no, never heard of
Since
it.
he knew her personally, yeah, he knew her personally, and he just got out of prison, so he only wrote it, I think, 4 months ago, and I think he has an A&E show. I haven't read it yet. It's pretty
Hmm.
new, but according to him, he already turned over evidence to authorities, to a couple agencies,
Oh,
showing
nice.
abuse of, like specific elites and specific presidential spouses and presidents. So I just thought it
Hmm.
was interesting that you brought that up. But
Oh yeah, so a lot of people are going to be shocked when the disclosure takes place because a lot of these people that we trusted in positions of power that we believe that were there for our benefit were actually all involved in Pizzagate, which are code words for people that are part of the pedophilia network. And many are going to be shocked when this happens. But I even heard that Oprah Winfrey was involved. So
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard a number and a certain prince of a certain royal family, and I have a question about that one too. But um, and I'm just hoping that since I work on some cases like that, that there's some kind of justice and that it's going to be revealed to all, and that's what I'm assuming is going to happen eventually, right?
exactly, yes.
Okay, great. Because it needs to be revealed.
Oh,
And good. Speaking of that, the reptilian queen and family have connections to Epstein and Seville, which
mhm.
um, Seville is like the British version of Epstein, and they also have connections to the Vatican, and the crown and the Vatican go way back to the days of the Crusades. And apparently, there's also a tunnel, which I don't know is related, but there's a tunnel said to be from Rome to Pyramid of Giza plateau. So, are any of those connections, do they make sense about the Crusades and the crown and the Vatican? And then also, not in front of the Vatican, but in front of the Colosseum in Rome, which I haven't been to, there's a pagan deity, goddess, it's a goddess that sacrifices children. And this pagan deity is right in front of the Roman Colosseum, and it's named Molech.
Yeah.
And the Vatican denies anything of having to do with that, as if they would allow that in their own town. But does that make sense? And do you have any insight on any of those ties with the Crown and the Vatican and all that?
Well, the Vatican is like the primary epicenter of child sacrifice, and they have been. And even before they reorganized as the church, right, the imitation Luciferian church, they were during the days of the Roman Empire. It was known as the cult of Moloch, and that's where the cabal during those days. That's what they were doing. So nothing has changed. They just do it under a different name under different times. But we could trace this extraction of androchrome all the way back to Babylon, if you really want to get technical, which was like 5 to 6,000 years ago. But yeah, you could say that it was I believe it was during the times of the Roman Empire. They were known as the community of the Carthage that sacrificed the children to Moloch, and the Vatican is in denial about that because all they did is they just reorganized, and they just kind of continue you could say the rituals in secret. And something that the Whiteheads have discovered when they have been in the last year when they cleared out the Vatican underground tunnels is that they discovered that all the tunnels, all the gateway, all the different all the tunnels that connect Washington, the Denver airport, they're all connected worldwide, and they all lead to the Vatican. So the Vatican is like the epicenter of this underground network, this underground pedophilia network.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we got a glimpse of that in that movie Spotlight, where the
Mhm.
investigative journalists, if you've seen it, I think it came out 10 years ago or so. And I'm surprised the movie was allowed to be released because, it shows a lot of that abuse and like thousands of a percent higher than like any other, religious organization or organization in general. So that movie Spotlight literally puts a spotlight on, those abusive cases and, show interviews of people when they were kids explaining that. So it's painful to watch, but it needs to come out. So I'm surprised they actually that movie was actually released and it was a mainstream movie, not just a documentary. So you might want to check that out. But just for those that don't know, which I don't think I fully know, what is the adrenochrome injections, and like what is that exactly?
Okay, so when a child is being tortured, um, they release a chemical hormone that the negative regressives through the Cabal families have been able to harvest, and that chemical hormone is like a drug. The reptilians and the different aliens that feed off of that. To them, it's like a rush. They feel it
Hmm.
rejuvenates them. They get a high. It's almost like being on opiates or heroin for them. It gives them that feeling, like that rush, right? And
Yeah.
for the hybrid human members who are, part reptilian, part human, like the hybrids, right? That rule the world, the cabal. For them, it's more about staying young. When they inject it in themselves, it helps them to stay younger. It fights the aging process, and that's why, in the black market, androchrome is sold at a high price. And that explains why a lot of celebrities have been able to afford that stuff and why they stay looking so young. They don't use Botox, they use androchrome. And I think there's even been a few scenarios where some of these celebrities, they spilled the beans and they're like, oh, I take, I don't know how they said it, but they said that they inject some sort of some blood or something, not blood. What did they say? I forget the term that they use, but they said that they inject something that comes from children. There's been a few instances where celebrities have actually, revealed or exposed the stuff that they take in order to look younger. When it was first discovered was a long time ago, billions of years ago in Lyra, when the Dracos first discovered the Lyrans. Um,
Hmm.
they started attacking them. There was a massive, you could say, a huge massacre that took place where hundreds of millions of Lyrans were destroyed, were killed, and that's when the Draco first. That's when they first discovered that when they torture a human being, they actually, get high off of the energy that they release, and so that was discovered a long time ago, billions, I think, no, I'm sorry, hundreds of millions of years ago, and ever since then, the reptilians have been pretty much the culprits of the androchrome extractions throughout all of history. Even during the times of Atlantis, during the times of Egypt. I mean, this stuff has been going on for a long, long time. You could actually trace it off worlds to Lyra when the reptilians just decimated, and eliminated and killed as many humans as possible during the first galactic wars.
Yeah, that's terrible. It really is terrible, and I think it's a pain that the human collective, as I guess Lyrans were our earlier form, but as Lyran descendants, that we feel that, and I think
Mhm.
that's where a lot of the fears of the reptilians come from. But I could be wrong, but I think it's just innate in us from that happening so many times over and over and over again. Um, so that brings me actually to another question. So are all humans Lyrian descent to a certain degree or level because that is, the early humanoid form?
Yes, yes. The original Adam and Eve originated in Lyra approximately, I think it was 2 billion years ago. Yeah. So from Lyra, the cradle of all human civilization, you could say that our ancestors eventually expanded into other systems in our galaxy. They went to Andromeda. They went to other galaxies, uh, and they gradually populated our local universe. And then, of course, they established a civilization on Venus 2 billion years ago. That's why in our solar system, Venus is the most advanced society because they've been around for 2 billion years. They were actually one of the first planets that the Lyrans colonized 2 billion years ago when they first expanded into other regions and other galaxies. So even the Pleiadians, even the Andromedans, and all human-like beings out there, the Alpha Centaurians, the Tau Cetus, the Hadars, the Epsilon Eridanis, all those human-like galactic civilizations, they all stem from Lyra. So in that sense, yes, we are all Lyran, but by virtue of descending from the original humans that sprung from Lyra.
Great. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, but just wanted to ask. So actually going back to like underground stuff, but not really the tunnels, but like the Giza Plateau. Like we all know that ground penetrating radar has been around at least since, I don't know, the 90s or something, mainstream. And it
Mhm.
probably started out with the Department of Defense, military, like the GPS did back in the 80s. And um, I just thought the other day, I'm like, watching an Egyptian show, and I'm like, wait a second, how come we're not being shown ground penetrating radar of underneath Giza, places like Giza Plateau, which is intentional. And I think that's because, there's a lot under there that they don't want us to see or show, which goes into the cabal controlling, mainstream archaeology and stuff like that, history, of course. And so that kind of bothers me. So, but I've also heard that a three-letter agency went and took out knowledge from like the pod, the Sphinx, So do you have any insight on that, on why they're, obviously not showing us the ground penetrating radar there and other, historical sites, and then about a three-letter agency taking information from the Sphinx?
Well, they've always done that. Going back to 1700 years ago, right before the establishment of the Roman Catholic Church. The cabal during those days ransacked the ancient library of Alexandria, and they burned pretty much all of the records, except they kept the few that they needed in order to control the population. Right? They had access to all the
Yeah.
secrets, and they do it over and over and over. Every time there is a huge site or a huge depository of knowledge or records that reveal clearly our true history, who we are, where do we come from. They're always there to corrupt it, to distort it, or at least to kind of keep it suppressed or oppressed from the general public. So that's something they've always done, and that's why when I wrote my book, a lot of that stuff that I was able to actually channel was from the halls of record, was from the Akashic records. And yeah, if people haven't read my book, Our Cosmic Origin, I mean, that book is just, it's full of information that was omitted by the dark forces, eliminated for thousands of years.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. And I was aware of the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and that it had a lot of knowledge from the ancient Druids and Egypt, and basically our true origins. And that it made it seem like a religious thing, but it was really just literally a book burning slash killing by the cabal to get rid of that knowledge. So the people would be left with their religion only, as a choice, because the knowledge is lost. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully that's coming to an end here soon. So, speaking of that and some of their control, I've heard on channels like Cosmic Agency that the Gregorian and the Julian calendar has been changed several times
Yeah.
to so the cabal could get pumped up and go in and get some lands and do a treaty and say it's really 1700, but it's 1200, or say it's, backdate the Bible 40 years to make it look like a prophecy, or to add 2,000 years, or add 10,000 years to the pyramid and the Sphinx, even though Sphinx has weathered, water on it from the Great Flood, and they're saying it was built after that. So what year is it really? I mean, does anyone actually know in linear, human time, because of all these multiple changes on the calendar?
Well, overall, time is irrelevant. Time doesn't really exist. But as far as like where we're at in the grand scheme of things, we are at the end of many cycles. The original calendars actually go back to ancient Egypt and ancient Atlantis, and the only culture that was able to preserve the accurate timekeeping system were the Mayans. So, from what I understand, is that due to the fact that the Cabal throughout the millenniums have always restarted history, right, by changing the calendars, and that's why leap year exists. I believe that it's actually 10 to 12 years off. So that's why nothing happened in 2012, because we were using the Gregorian calendar,
Yeah.
but it's been what, 10 years after now. So many believe that 2012 is really 2024. So all these great changes that we were supposed to witness in 2012 based on the Gregorian calendar are going to happen in 2024 because of the accuracy of the Mayan calendar being about 12 years off. So I would say that the Mayan calendar is the only accurate, I guess, piece of information or evidence that we have regarding like the accurate timekeeping systems. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Nobody knows, exactly what year it is. But I believe that the Mayans, based on their mathematical calculations involving the revolution of planets around stars, stars around parent stars, and then the galactic core, they were able to calculate exactly when a cycle ends and a new cycle begins, or in other words, a new age ends and another age begins. So they believe that the fifth world age would come to an end in 2012, which is really 2024, based on the
Yeah.
original Mayan calendar, not the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah. So, especially with using that astronomy, and I agree with that. I think that's and that's why their knowledge is so treasured. And especially the Mayans specifically are said to come from the planet Maya in Pleiades, and that's where they went. That's what, they didn't just disappear. They, went back home. At least I've heard on, a couple channels, but so that's interesting. But that leads into my question about, again, the sacrifice, because in more modern times, the Aztecs, all, down in that area, did sacrifices, but it was many cultures. I looked it up. It was China, it was, ancient Egypt, it was the pagans, in any culture, at various times would do that. So of course, in 1400 or 1600s, the Mayans are going to be most remember. I mean, the Aztecs, maybe the Mayans too, are going to be the most biggest offenders, and that's why that was a good segue to, like, here, have Christianity and be under the king, pay our taxes because sacrifice is bad. So where did they go wrong? Did they misunderstand the ETs when the ETs taught them, about spirituality, and they kind of just added in sacrifice? Or was that like a reptilian hack that kind of infiltrated them and corrupted these various cultures worldwide? Because various cultures were doing it worldwide, actually, the sacrifice, and I'm not just talking nowadays like the children, which of course that's still happening, but I mean, in the masses, where they would throw 5,000 people in a pit, in a cenote. And my dad's from Mexico, so I just kind of wonder too, because that's part of my culture.
Yeah, it was definitely a reptilian intervention that caused all those human sacrifices to take place by these people. And the deity or the reptilian to blame is Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan are one and the same. The Olmecs knew him as Kukulkan, the Mayans knew him as Quetzalcoatl, and he was another son of Enki. Again, Enki's the nefarious Anunnaki in this whole thing. So that's why I always warn people about Enki and those that are promoting him, like Elena Denon and Alex Collier and Michael Sala. Beware, they're now compromised. They're all being controlled by Enki, and don't buy into that. Enki is not our he's not our creator. Enki actually downgraded us. Our real creator are the Patals. They are the ancient cedar race, which is the eternal race, and they created us in Lyra. So this whole idea that Enki created us based on the ancient alien philosophy is totally misinformation. What he did is he downgraded us by admixing us with the genetics of primates, and that explains why people are Rh positive. So he's the reason why we fell from a heightened state of consciousness into a limited state of consciousness. So yeah, so that was Kukulkan Quetzalcoatl, who was the evil serpent that the Mayans sacrificed people to.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I remember the picture of what looks like a dragon, but it's the serpent one. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody said, Lily Rose said, I am the daughter of Enlil. Well, guess who Enlil was? Zeus. According to the Greek translation, Enlil was Zeus. He was the chief guardian of the earth in the Atlantean days. And through his children, the demigods, they were able to preserve humanity when Enki was, genetically, blasphemously creating different monstrous creatures. It was Enlil's children and Enlil, Zeus, who were defeating those negative entities and allowed for the preservation of the human race. So Lily Rose said, I am a daughter of Enlil. And I believe that's true, because
Yeah.
the children of Zeus also became, the house of David, the house of Solomon, the house of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. So that means that you come from the Holy Grail lineage, which was brought to the earth. The Holy Grail blueprint was brought to the earth through Zeus. Oh, I guess the Sumerian name of Zeus was Enlil.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I love that. And
Yeah, so through his lineage, in the New Age, it is prophesied that new heroes would emerge. So Lily Rose is going to be a hero.
there you go. Good job, Lily. So I think other people have asked before, but if you can just do a quick overview of, because I'm actually Rh negative, and I think I'm one of the only ones in my family. I'm O negative. I'm the universal donor, so, like, they stock me down to give blood, which no, thank you, not that often. So I stopped doing it a while ago, but of course I would for a family member or a close friend,
Mhm.
because I have to. Well, I can give to anyone, but I can only accept from my own kind. So that's kind of better for everyone else. But do you have any new insights on that, or what it actually means, other than what you just said about the Rh positive bloodline? What about the Rh negative bloodline?
Well, the Rh negative bloodline come from the gods. They come from the guardians, not the negative Anunnaki. They come from the positive, which is the family that is related to Enlil Sus. We had Athena, right? Well, I guess in Sumerian terms, she was known as Inanna. But the Greek translations, we had Athena, we had Aphrodite. Those were all the children of Zeus, and I believe Athena was the one who carried the scales of justice. And those scales of justice were passed on to her through her father, Zeus. And then, of course, later, those scales of justice were carried over through the demigods, or those that came from the lineage of Zeus, which were the progenitors of the Rh negative blood type. And that was the only lineage that was left preserved and undiluted, and it was not admixed with primitive stock or with primate genes.
Wow.
So that's what you are. Yeah, you're also a descendant of the guardians. People that are Rh negative come from royal blood, by the way. They're the original guardians, or they're the descendants of the original guardians.
Oh, wow. Does that mean that you're Rh negative too?
Yeah, I am.
You are? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I would assume, but I don't know, that a lot of starseeds are Rh negative.
Yes, a number of the starseeds are Rh negative, but also some of the starseeds are Rh positive, and there's nothing wrong with that. They came here to undo the primitive gene.
Yeah, like you said, infiltrate from the inside sometimes. So just a question about clones, because I'm very interested. So like the clones, such as Epstein, you had said before in other interviews that Epstein was, basically rescued, and there was a clone there, which I definitely do buy that. I really do. And then that the reptilian queen was a clone, and a lot of these types are clones. So where are the originals at, and how can a clone's body actually animate, without a soul? Especially if they killed the original, are they like in Guantanamo Bay? Are they in Saturn? Like, what's going on?
They're in Guantanamo Bay, but the way they animate the clones is through a reptilian technology that connects the clones to the Borg. So, in essence, you could say that they're all connected to a computer. The computer is animating them. AI system, I guess that's the best way to say it. So, in that sense, artificial intelligence is what's generating the clones. It's what's animating the clones. It's what's keeping them alive. It's what's making them say what they say. It's all being done through a computer system.
Okay, that's what I thought you were gonna say. I'm like, I think he's gonna say it's the AI from, not the, what is it, the Red Queen? Is that what it's called?
Well, yeah, the AI that controls pretty much all the clones and all the Agent Smiths and all the NPCs is the Red Queen, who exists in the she's in the underground. Well, I guess she is deep in the underground in the the Denver airport. The Denver airport. That's where she's located. And she was given two assignments. The first assignment was to monitor the Rh negative blood type, which are the descendants of Zeus, because they knew they had access to the original prophecies, and they knew that these people would one day emerge and activate their psychokinetic powers, and like X-Men, and usher in a whole new era. And with these powers, all the aliens out there fear, because none of these aliens have the powers that we would have once we activate our dormant DNA. And so that was her primary reason why she was placed in the underground of the Denver airport, was to pretty much to monitor and surveil the different Rh negative blood type, and among other reasons. But I believe that the solar flash is going to kill her, eliminate her as well.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is she being taken out as a sentient AI?
Oh, she's very powerful. Yeah, she's assimilated a lot of our powers through computers, through an advanced computing system. She was able to pretty much enhance our abilities and then mimic it and then assimilate it. So she's got a lot of these abilities already. And in turn, she's also working for the AI god Omega Saurian, who is like the entity that all the evil aliens answer to throughout the multiverse.
Got it. Yeah, I believe she is going to be taken out, meaning the Red Queen.
Exactly.
And we'll be able to celebrate the day that happens, and we'll be there to see it. And So going back to Inner Earth, have you ever heard of the Agarthans? And are the Agarthans assisting with liberation in places like Antarctica, which is, ran by the Cabal and reptilians and stuff and AI? And
Well,
do the reptilians have underwater ocean bases connected to Antarctica? And are the Agarthans aware and helping with that? Or is that mixed? Is that two different things?
right. Well, they are aware, and the Agarthans, as well as the Andromedans and the Pleiadians and the Syrians, have been helping us as far as clearing up the underwater reptilian bases, and also the different structures that they put into place in Antarctica, long time ago. So as I speak right now, Antarctica is no longer under the control of the Cabal. They've completely eliminated the infrastructure that was placed there by the Dark Fleet. And so it's no longer a post for the Dark Fleet. Antarctica is now under the control of the Alliance as of 2021.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really good news.
Yeah, and members of the Agarthian Inner Earth Society are also assisting us from behind the scenes. They are working with members of the Alliance, the White Hats, and of course the Galactics. So it's a collaborated effort, that is happening from behind the scenes to liberate the Earth.
And are the Agarthans the Inner Earth beings? Because that's my understanding, or are they from a different source?
Well, all the Inner Earth beings, just like all of us, no one's technically from this planet. We all migrated from other worlds. So you could say that all the Inner Earth beings, at some point in our past, perhaps 50,000 years ago, perhaps a million years ago, they came to the Earth during the first seeding or during the second seeding, before Atlantis. And some even came during the times of Lemuria. And due to the cataclysms that took place in ancient times, based on this 26,000 year revolution, where there's a pole shift and civilizations fall, new civilizations rise. Many of them, in order to preserve themselves, decided to go into the Inner Earth, and the Inner Earth structure has been in place for millions of years. I think it was first created, the Inner Earth was first created by the Patals. The Patals are the ancient cedar race, because they knew that the time would come where inhabitants of the surface world were need a place of refuge to kind of protect themselves from the cataclysms that were taking place on the surface world.
Great. And the Patalas, are they from Lyra as well?
No, the Patals are from the central universe. They hail from the eternal realms of Havana, of the always existing realms. They come from the mother universe. In other words, they come from harmonic universe number 5, which occupies dimensions 13, 14, and 15.
Okay, great. I just thought they were Lyrian because I thought human, but I have to remember that there are so many that were involved here.
Well,
Inner and outer Earth. Yeah.
The main group that created the Lyrans were actually developed by the Patals. And then, to counteract that, we could say that Lucifer developed the Draco. So the Patals are like the original Elohim, and then Draco, yeah. Lucifer separated from the original Elohim because he was one of the archetypes of the 12. And then he developed his own race, and that's how the reptilians came about.
Okay, so the Patal are even more ancient than the Lyrians.
By far, yes. They were around even before the first universe was created.
Wow, that's up there. Okay, so speaking of gods, Roman gods, Greek gods, other mythology, you have Norse gods. Are said to be extraterrestrial. Of course, there's like hundreds, maybe thousands of them, so who knows how many specifically, or if it's just the main ones, the more popular ones. Mm-hmm. But does that mean that Yeshua, Buddha, Muhammad, and Krishna are the same? Just part of that, like mythology gods and ET, or are they different?
Yeah, well, the gods of the Bible, the gods of mythology, the angels of the Bible, and they are the guardian races or the positive ETs that hail from harmonic universe number 3, 4, and 5. So we could say that Krishna comes from harmonic universe number 4. Jesus comes from harmonic universe number 4. Buddha comes from harmonic universe number 3. And all these great incarnations of Avatar always existed. They are part of the Council of Guardians. So Sirius, for instance, Jesus was a high-level Syrian. He comes from Sirius. And so did Krishna. Krishna also came from Sirius. So there's times where these avatars have to incarnate in order to kind of
Yeah.
redirect the evolution of humanity.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
so the gods of mythology were actually the Pleiadians, the Nibirian Pleiadians, the good Anunnaki. Yeah, and the negative Anunnaki were the Nibirian reptilians, through Enki.
Okay. So it's a bit different than the Krishna Jesus harmonic four.
Yeah, exactly. Harmonic universe number 4 from dimensions 10, 11, and 12.
Okay. Great. Because I was a little confused on that. I'm like, I think they're a little bit different, but I don't know how. So let me ask. Um, and
Well,
then
they're
one.
all part of the same
Yeah.
council. They all part of the same council. Some believe that they're all different versions or incarnations of the logos, which is the mind of the universe or the galaxy.
Yeah, I've heard that too, that like Jesus and Buddha are the same incarnation, same basically same soul, but just in a different, incarnation. So that's also what I was asking too. And then I have one more just main question, and then we can talk about your book because I know you're working on a new chapter and um, your classes. And this one I heard on the Cosmic Agency channel. Is it true that we did not leave orbit for the Apollo missions because we lacked the technology to get past the Van Allen belt, the magnetism around the Earth, and that, the back then the computers were 1,000 times less powerful than even our cell phones? Is that true?
That is not true. Yeah. Through the private sector, we've already inherited advanced stellar interplanetary technologies that allow us to go beyond the belts, beyond our solar system, into the entire galaxy and beyond our galaxy. So, yeah, we have the tech to go beyond that.
And does that tech come from things like Roswell, New Mexico, and reverse engineering, and I
It
guess
comes
partnering with Greys or reptilians, or
Well, it comes from it's both. It's an aspect of reverse engineering from crashes that were intelligently directed to the Earth, and then it also comes from different types of off-world entities. The negative ones that approached Hitler during the 1940s, which developed the first secret space program, the Dark Fleet, and in response and counter attack and counter that, or not only what am I trying to say? To counteract that, then the good guys also developed, space programs in collaboration with the U.S. Navy during the 1950s. So it's both, it's reverse engineered and also interacting with extraterrestrials. That's how we got the tech.
got it? Yeah, I figured since there's multiple hybrid programs going on and stuff, that same thing with that as well. Um, So I think that pretty much finishes up my main questions, and I really appreciate your time. If you want to talk about your Starseed classes that you give and your open calendar or in your book with your new chapter, I wish I would have waited to get that one, but
Um, I still have room for my January class. I'm booked all the way to December. So if people want to sign up, it's about 6 hours. I put everything, my 22 years of research or 25 years of research, and I cram it up in 6 hours. And we talk about everything, dimensions, star races. We talk about chakras. We talk about cosmic and galactic history in detail, though. And then I also answer your questions, so it's interacting in real time where I'm answering your questions as well. And then I also teach you my personal techniques that allowed me to integrate or to connect with my galactic self, and also to access your own Akashic records through this technique. So that's all included in my Starseed Cosmology course. So I do have room left in my January class. And for those that haven't read my book, Our Cosmic Origin, it is available on Amazon. It is a book that is amazing. Like everyone that's read it is all so far has messaged me. Well, those that have my social media and have thanked me because that book totally transformed their life. And to me, that's like I can't even like I'm just so grateful for that. To be of service at this time.
thank you very much, Ishmael. I have a link to your book there and a link to your classes. I thank you so much for your time and appreciate everything that you're letting out just in the open, as is, and which is amazing. It's really amazing. And, um, for not just for Starseeds, for everyone, whether they know it or not, and, getting a lot of people through hard times. Do you have any last messages on how to help people get through hard financial times or hard, times finding work or getting the virus or, something like that? I was in a position to get the shot or get fired, and I said no, and I did not do it. I did not thankfully get fired, but there are people that are having, a hard time right now. I'm in California too, but Northern California, but with inflation, the high gas prices, is there any way that we can, I guess, other than like meditate, or look within, they're kind of the obvious ones that we can kind of get pushed through these times?
The best thing to do is just stick to your beliefs, stay in your ground. Don't let nothing um, take you off your path. The more you are centered, the more you are in your power, the easier things are going to be for you. The universe has your back. As long as you do your part, the universe will open doors for you. The universe will bless you as long as you do your part. And stay truthful to the organic way of life. Don't sell yourself out short. Be authentic. Don't be, anybody that you're not just to please others, because that takes you off your path. So if you want the universe to really bless you, you have to just stick to your beliefs and stay grounded in who you are as a person.
Well said. And, I think that a lot of people are finding their true selves because they are, um, realizing that a lot of their programming and whatnot has a false, sense of self, and that they're coming out of their shell more. So, people like you are inspiring them to do that as well. So I just want to thank you personally and thank you so much for your time. I hope you have an awesome day, and I hope that, maybe we can do this again another time. And really appreciate everything.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate your time as well.
Thanks, Ishmael. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.